from Royal Communications Incorporated. Good evening and welcome to King's News Broom 45 minutes news about Liberia, Africa, and our one world. Today is Wednesday, February 18, 2026, and I'm Shemon Dia presenting. In the headlines, Minta Liberia management orders heavy shooting at company Kiami Yekepa to disperse protesting workers, leaving several protesters severely wounded. Former President George Weah extends warm wishes to Liberian Muslims at the beginning of holy month of Ramadan, urges fasting Muslims to pray for peace, unity, and coexistence. And as in the news tonight, Liberia National Police names Sam Collins, new spokesperson of police, as Cecilia Clark resigned from the police. Clark accuses leadership of Liberia National Police of persistent workplace discrimination. Away from home, at least 37 miners have died in a suspected carbon monoxide leak at a lead in zinc mine in central Nigeria's Plateau State, witnesses have told the BBC. Gabon's media regulator has announced the suspension of social media platforms until further notice, saying online content has fueled conflict and deepened divisions in the country. This plus a news bulletin, voices of those making the news are our package. We'll take a short break to be right back. Welcome back at this juncture. We join Newton Tuba with the news bulletin.
Heavy sounds of gunfire took over the airwaves in Yekepat Wednesday during AFCOM's ArcelorMittal Liberia subcontracted company. The aggrieved workers turned out to continue their protests against low wages, including labor abuse and unpaid benefits. In a social media video, individuals, particularly foreign national and personnel of the Liberian National Security, were seen shooting live bullets and tear gas to disperse the protesters. The AML aggrieved workers once the protest, which was greeted with heavy resistance, including gunfire, began late January. Hundreds of workers of AFCOMs have been protesting in Yekepa over low wages, including labor abuse and unpaid benefits. One of the protesters, identified as PD Josiah, said they have been abused and maltreated by AML's management for a long period of time. He added that they would not compromise their benefits, stating that they lack nearly everything, including safe drinking water, quality education, and basic health care. Former President George Weah has called on members of the Muslim community to use the holy month of Ramadan as a period of prayer, unity, peace, and sustained coexistence. In a special statement issued Wednesday following the official announcement of the commencement of Ramadan by the Liberian Muslim community, former President Weah extended warm wishes to Muslims in Liberia and around the world. He described Ramadan as one of the fundamental pillars of Islam, emphasizing that the observance of the month requires sacrifice, devotion, and spiritual commitment. The former president underscored the importance of national unity, noting that diversity of views should not serve as a source of strength that binds people together, regardless of ethnic, political, or religious differences. And Fuller pledged his solidarity with the Islamic community during the period of supplication, praying for God's intervention to grant and accept their personal prayers. The Liberian National Police most recent reassigned head of protocols and former spokesperson Cecilia Clark has resigned from the police force. Clark, who was officially reassigned to the protocols department as head on Tuesday, announced her resignation from the institution on Wednesday due to what she called unjustifiable administrative transfer. The leadership of the Liberian National Police also appointed Sam Collins as new spokesperson of the police. Collins has previously served as head of the protocol department, but got swapped with Cecilia Clark due to what police hierarchy believed to be his competence after going through records of his past services in the same role. Speaking to reporters, Clark noted she received a short notice from her bosses regarding that's ordering her to turn over everything in her possession that belongs to the office of the spokesperson. She added that her resignation from the Liberian National Police was prompted by professional and administrative challenges, persistence, workplace discrimination, among other things. The Justice in Chambers of the Supreme Court of Liberia, Justice Jim Etta Wolokoli, has overturned commercial court ruling ordering status quo preserved in petroleum arbitration dispute between Shrimex Oil and Gas Company and the Liberia Petroleum Refining Company. In a recent ruling, she found that the lower court erred by refusing to issue a preliminary injunction that would protect the integrity of the arbitration process, emphasizing that such measure was necessary to safeguard the arbitration proceedings. The judge issued during the October term, AD 2025, Justice Wolokoli held that while the commercial court correctly ordered arbitration under the 20-year petroleum storage agreement between the Shrimex and the LPRC, it misapplied the law by declining to grant the injunctive relief needed to ensure the arbitration process could proceed without disruption. Shrimet Oil and Gas has challenged LPRC's action, arguing that the company did not have the authority to unilaterally alter or terminate the 2013 petroleum storage agreement, which had been ratified by LPRC board resolution. Shrimet contended that LPRC pricing narrative, which significantly impacted the financial structure of the PSA, amounted to an extra proportion of its assets and contractual rights. Wapolo County Senator Amara Kone has accused national state security apparatus of persistent harassment of members of the Mandingo tribe and security checkpoints across the county. Speaking during Tuesday's Senate section, Senator Cornette raised concern over what he described as growing intimidation targeting members of his ethnic group. According to him, the situation is generating widespread fear among his kinsmen, with many expressing concerns about their safety and freedom of movement. The Guapolo senator characterized the alleged actions as a serious matter that could undermine national peace and stability if national government refused to take prompt action, and cautioned that such conduct has the potential to erode public trust in state institutions and strain relations among the Mandingo community and other ethnic groups. Cornette further called on the Liberian Senate leadership to summon the Minister of Justice, Councillor Oswald Tuer, to appear just before the legislature to respond to the allegation and also provide clarification regarding the reported security concerns involving individuals of the Fulani community. Criminal Court 8 resident Judge Christopher Woolley has announced Tuesday, February 24th, as this set to decide Claire Hope Foundation request to the court to stop the Asset Recovery and Property Retrieval Task Force action against the institution. The Asset Recovery Task Force has sent accused former First Lady Claire Marie Weir, founder of the Claire Hope Foundation, of using public funds to undertake the project. Therefore, the foundation must be turned over to government. They also demanding the authorities of the foundation to turn over all documents that led to the construction works, a move being challenged by the legal team of the foundation. The foundation flagship project, the City of Hope Academy, offers primary and secondary education as well as vocational training to underprivileged children, an initiative applauded by several others, including former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. It was founded in June 2018 by former First Lady Claire Weir to create an equitable society where women, children, youth, and the early are healthy, educated, and empowered to lead independent lives. President Joseph Walker has committed his government to exhibiting international best practices in ensuring that public officials perform their respective duties in accordance with constitutional mandate in order to satisfy the people who they are appointed to serve. He said the government will endeavor to apply these practices that fit Liberia's legal system by working through accountable and independent institutions. President Walker's statement was contained in a speech delivered on his behalf by the Justice Minister Oswald Tue at the opening of a 3-day discussion organized by the Office of the Ombudsman with support from European Union in Painsfield on Wednesday. Remarking during the program, the chairperson of the Ombudsman, Councillor Philip Kanga, disclosed that the deliberation is intended to learn and share knowledge among partners from Ghana, South Africa, Pakistan, in order to improve Liberia's Office of the Ombudsman. According to Councillor Kanga, the deliberation marks the first component of 2 opportunities to share knowledge and learn from other partners in the sector. The Grand Mufti of the Supreme Council of Fatia in Liberia has appealed to all Muslims not to allow political diversity bring disunity among them in the country. Sheikh Abubakar Sumawolo said political diversity will always exist, but their political opinion should not serve as the basis to bring confusion in the Muslim community. Speaking at the one-day Holy Month of Ramadan symposium, Sheikh Samawolo also encouraged all imams to pray for the president, the government, and the Liberian people. The Grand Mufti also commended the Liberian government and people for the level of peace prevailing in the country thus far. The former president of the Liberian Council of Churches has commended the Supreme Court of Liberia for taking actions against Prophet Key. Last week, the Supreme Court of Liberia sentenced Prophet Key, whose real name is Justin Opar-Yezian, to 6-month imprisonment. Remarking at the program marking the opening of the 17th biannual General Conference of the Apostolic Pentecostal Church International in Broadville on Wednesday, Bishop Cottobrand asked the church to pray for Prophet Key because the Supreme Court has given him a second chance because abuses are not freedom of speech. Delivering the keynote speech, the former Assistant Director General of the United States Agency for International Development, Dr. Monique Waterbushot, observed the general situation in Liberia and has improved over the last 2 years. According to the doctor, she was severely afraid about 2 years ago when she visited Liberia because of the many prevailing situation in the country. The commercial code has once that's reason that once arbitration has been ordered, issuing a permanent injunction will exceed its jurisdiction. Justice Wolokoli disagreed with the commercial court's reasoning, asserting that the court's jurisdiction over the substantive issue as a dispute subject to arbitration does not proceed its authority to issue procedural safeguards to protect the effectiveness of the arbitration process. She emphasized that the court have a responsibility to prevent actions that could undermine or render the arbitration process effectively. Justice Wolokoli ruled and added that the commercial court's decision to deny injunctive relief was a misapplication of the law, thereby allowing that the status quo be preserved pending the arbitration. Palmy County Superintendent Miata Dolly has expressed concerns for the construction of a modern football stadium in the county to top development priority. According to her, residents of the county have already identified a site for the construction, noting that it's part of repeated advocacy for projects such as hotel, police station, and the superintendent compound. Superintendent Dolly pledged her full support for the stadium initiative, putting the cost at about $2 million United States dollars solid for the purchase of the land. She also expressed serious concern over the slowdown of operations at the Western Clustered Iron Ore Mining Company, which she said has wounded the unemployment gap and increased hardship for residents in that part of Liberia. And the Director of Intersectorial Coordination at the Environmental Protection Agency, Francis Sidu, has provided an objectives of the validation and overview of the Nagoya Protocol and Liberia's ABS obligation. She emphasized the Nagoya Protocol is an international agreement that falls under the Convention of Biodiversity with 3 objectives, which include the conservation of biodiversity and sustainable use, and the fair and equitable share of benefits for Liberia's natural resources. Sealed further noted that the Nagoya Protocol was adopted in 2010 in Japan to single out the fair and equitable shared benefits for the rest of the objectives, thereby establishing the ABS obligation in 2014. The EPA Director for Intersectorial Coordination added that the Nagoya Protocol was also established to increase the global use of genetic resources, which can be used for cosmetic medicine and to promote agricultural processes across the country.
Newton Topwell with the news bulletin. The news bulletin is a regular feature on King's Newsroom. A reminder you're listening to King's Newsroom 45 minutes news about Liberia, Africa, in our one word. Stories you following tonight: a Salaminta Liberia management orders heavy shooting at company camp in Yekepa to disperse protesting workers, leaving several protesters severely wounded. Former President George Weah extends warm wishes to Liberian Muslims at the beginning of holy month of Ramadan, urges fasting Muslims to pray for peace, unity, and coexistence. Liberia National Police names Sam Collins, new spokesperson of police, as the city of Clark, resigned from the police. Clark accuses leadership of Liberia National Police of persistent workplace discrimination. Away from home, at least 37 minors have died in a suspected carbon monoxide leak at a lead and zinc mine in central Nigeria's Plateau State, witnesses have told the BBC. We'll take a break to be back with more voices. Welcome back and thanks for being there. Heavy sounds of gunfire took over the airwaves in Yekepa Wednesday during AFCON's Asalaminta Liberia subcontractor company aggrieved workers turned out to continue their protest against low wages, including labor abuse and unpaid benefits. In a social media video, individuals, particularly the foreign national and personnel of Liberia National Security, were seen shooting live bullets and tear gas to disperse the protesters. The ML aggrieved workers Wednesday's protest, which was greeted with heavy resistance, including gunfire, began late January. Hundreds of workers of AFCOMs have been protesting in Yekepa over low wages, including labor abuse and unpaid salaries. Which one? Protesters and oh, simple. You're not paying attention at all.
Yeah, to be real to the public. Whatsoever you are watching this video, to be real, we have been maltreated by the Afro management for the past time. But this time around, we'll take it from no government official or any management. Whether you can be the last government official from police or from where, today is the last day. No compromise. The last thing, everybody of the man and about. They say one thing won't go, no compromise. And to be straight, let me be bold to the point. No mine sector is safe for drinking. No mine sector. That way you go. Right now, you're presented to you. There's a MOU, our son. But we are not giving beginner people because of that. But what we want is equal rights, equal benefit. What happened to beginners should happen to the giver, and what we offer this morning. Yeah, thank you so much.
Aggrieved workers of AFCON, a Salabinta Liberia subcontracted company. The Liberia National Police most recent reassigned head of protocol and former spokesperson Cecilia Clark has resigned from the police force. Clark, who was officially reassigned to the protocols department as head on Tuesday, announced her resignation from the institution on Wednesday due to what she called unjustifiable administrative transfer. The Liberia National Police also appointed Sam Collins as new spokesperson of police. Speaking of reporters, Clark noted that she received a short notice from her bosses ordering her to turn over everything in her possession that belongs to the office of the spokesperson.
I, Cecilia Glitley Clark, Deputy Commissioner of Police, have formally resigned from the position of police spokesperson of the Liberian National Police effective February 18, 2026. Having served in this role with dedication and commitment to professionalism, I consider it a privilege to have contributed to strengthening public communication and institutional transparency during my time. As one of the few women to serve in such a visible leadership position in the LNP, I have embraced this responsibility with integrity, vision, and a deep sense of professionalism. I am thankful for the opportunity to serve in the police by building trust and improving communication with the public and the security sector. My decision to resign follows careful reflection on a range of professional and administrative challenges experienced over nearly 2 years. These include, but not limited to, persistent workplace discrimination, operational constraints, limited institutional support, structural barriers affecting the performance of my office, and difficulties in team. Despite continued efforts to address these matters internally and uphold the highest level of professionalism, recent developments have made it clear that resigning from my position is in the best interest of both myself and the institution. Let me read that again. And this is the recent development I'm referring to, relieving me of my post and reassigning me to the post of Sam Collins.
Cecilia Clark, they're speaking. Bapoto County Senator Amara Conan has accused national security apparatus of persistently harassing members of the Mandingo tribe at security checkpoints across the country. Speaking during Tuesday's section, Senator Conan raised concerns over what he described as growing intimidation targeting members of his ethnic group. According to him, the situation is generating widespread fear among his kinsmen, with many expressing concerns about their safety and freedom of movement.
This is another issue to consider in this debate. The security component is fine, but we need the heads that day to understand that they were undermining the government effort. I hope Senator Newman was here. I also want to say that people from my ethnic group are targeted in these many checkpoint operations. Senator Newman mentioned that in his report. So I don't want to inject that sentiment here, but I want my colleagues to know that this is a serious matter for my community, and I hope that we will consider that in the further review of what's happening. And then finally, I agree with Senator Dillon on this. paramilitary security setup by the Fulani community. I saw a statement yesterday from the Fulani governor, basically saying that, it doesn't exist for security purposes to protect that people. But we can look into that, maybe call the people who have the security outfit to tell us really what this is all about. But the DSI chair is not here. Inform us in our chat room that he's in touch with the national security leadership of the country, and they were looking into it, and so far there was no major threat to national security from this, but we need to look into it. Thank you.
Rapodo County Senator Amara Conin. President Joseph Boakai has committed his government to exhibiting international best practices, ensuring that public officials perform their respective duties in accordance to constitutional mandate in order to certify the people who they are appointed to serve. He said the government will endeavor to apply these practices that fit Liberia's legal system by working through accountable and independent institutions. President Boakai's statements were contained in a speech delivered on his behalf by Justice Minister Oswatwell at the opening of a 3-day discussion organized by the Office of the Ombudsman with support from European Union and Penzio.
Liberia is committed to learning from global best practices while applying solutions that fit our legal system and national realities. Our commitments under regional and international frameworks, including ECOWAS, African Union Agenda 2063, the Sustainable Development Goal 16, require strong, independent, and accountable institutions. We intend to meet these commitments through action. Liberia opens a new chapter in strengthening ethical governance and administrative justice. This Ombudsman Stakeholder Conference and Technical Workshop marks a historic step for our nation. For the first time, the Office of the Ombudsman is hosting a major technical engagement in Monrovia, supported by valued international partners and experienced ombudsman institutions. Liberians are and deserve a public service that is clean, fair, transparent, accountable. Our citizens want decisions that are lawful and predictable. They want to be heard when challenges arise, and they want complaint systems that work. Public officials also need clear rules and fair processes to guard their service. These expectations are not optional, they are constitutional obligations. These institutions exist to protect the public interest and strengthen trust between citizens and the state. Governance reform remains central under the arrest agenda for inclusive development, particularly Pillar 4, which focuses on the rule of law and institutional accountability. Within this framework, the Office of the Ombudsman carries two important responsibilities: ensuring stronger compliance with the Code of Conduct and strengthening its own institutional capacity. These are national priorities, not symbolic commitments. Ethical governance is not in these areas harms citizens, weakens investor confidence, and erodes national unity.
Justice Minister Oswa Tuol, they're speaking on behalf of President Joseph Boakai at the opening of a 3-day discussion organized by the Ombudsman with support from European Union. Also remarking during the program, the chairperson of the Ombudsman, Councillor Fene Kanga, disclosed that the deliberation is intended to learn and share knowledge among partners from Ghana, South Africa, and Pakistan in order to improve Liberia's Office of the Ombudsman.
This gathering comes from a request submitted by the Office of the Ombudsman sometime in 2025 for a two-pronged support package to the European Union delegate to Liberia. A technical workshop and a study visit for peer learning and changes. Today marks the first opening of the first component, the stakeholder conference and technical workshop. The second component, a study visit for peer learning and changes, will follow in due course. Our staff continue to operate without full tested procedure for receiving complaints, conducting hearings, or issuing decisions. Case reports varies in quality, and public awareness of our mandate is still limited, particularly outside of Monrovia. Citizens often lack confidence that complaints will be handled properly. Coordination with other accountability institutions is uneven, leading to delays, duplication, and unclear lines of responsibility today. This workshop is designed to address those gaps. Over the next 3 days, we will focus on strengthening the day-to-day functions that shapes credibility and performance, together with our colleagues that online and those that those from government institutions, the civil society, and our visiting team from Denmark and the Netherlands Ombudsman offices, as well as those who are virtually contributing from our sister Ombudsman institution and public protector from South Africa. These objectives reflect our shared commitment to accountability, independence, and public trust in Liberia's governance.
Councillor Fini Kanga, chairperson of the Ombudsman. Ella, you heard the voice of Justice Minister Councillor Usborg. You reminded listening to King's News Broom, 45 minutes news about Liberia, Africa, and our one world. Stories we following tonight: Asalamita, Liberia. Management orders heavy shooting at company camp in Yekepa to disperse protesting workers, leaving several protesters severely wounded. Former President George Weah extends warm wishes to Liberian Muslims at beginning of holy month of Ramadan, urges fasting Muslims to pray for peace, unity, and coexistence. Liberia National Police names Sam Collins new spokesperson of police as Cecilia Clark resigned from the police. Clark accuses leadership of Liberia National Police of persistent workplace discrimination. Away from home, at least 37 minors have died in a suspected carbon monoxide leak at a lead and zinc mine in central Nigeria's Plateau State, witnesses have told the BBC. Gabon's media regulator has announced the suspension of social media platforms until further notice, saying online content has fueled conflict and deepened divisions in the country. Take a break to be back with more voices. Welcome back and thanks for being there. The Grand Mufti of the Supreme Council of Fawa in Liberia has appealed to all Muslims not to allow political diversity bringing disunity among them in the country. Sheikh Abu Bakr Sumaruru said political diversity will always exist, but their political opinion should not serve as the basis for bringing confusion in the Muslim community.
We want you all to include in your benedictions, your dua, in your invocations, special benediction for our caretakers, the executive branch of our government that is headed by our President, Excellency Joseph Numa, and the other branches of the government, legislatures, and the judiciary. Include them in your benediction, in your dua, in the night prayer, so that Allah can provide them the strength and the power for them to be able to provide to Liberians what Liberians are expecting them to do for them. No more, ask Almighty Allah so that Allah can keep Liberia being united and may open the path for the development and truncated for Liberian people.
Sheikh Abu Bakr Sumaruru, Grand Mufti of the Supreme Council of Fawa in Liberia. The former president of the Liberia Council of Churches has commended the Supreme Court of Liberia for taking action against Prophet Key. Last week, the Supreme Court of Liberia sentenced Prophet Key, whose real name is Austin Opa Yezin, to 6 months imprisonment, remarking at programs marking the opening of the 7th or 17th Biennial General Conference of the Apostolic Pentecostal Church International. Bishop Cotto Brown asked the church to pray for Prophet Key because the Supreme Court has given him a second chance.
The Supreme Court did well for that man to thank the go rethink second chance. Some person on the court, the plaintiff and the judge. But man causing my cause. If I were not here, you can't cause the judge. Man causing my cause. What kind of freedom of speech now? So is that what we want to teach our children in the school? That they will cause my cause? Supreme Court, thank you, yeah. At least you give our brother a second chance. So he can go and retake himself. And I believe he can make it. I pray God will have mercy upon him. And then goes on to the radio. And we'll be causing other people, man. Even though we, the pastors, are going to pray for mercy for him. I'm praying for mercy for him right now. But then he have to change. Can we disagree and like, bro, I causing one another? Yes. Oh, yeah, we get this. Man, myself, I can be critical of that. I gotta call man. I gotta call somebody back. Some of the people who parent you causing the divorce, mama divorce, and you call mama. I was like, but raise your hands up, show it today, and start being praising. We pray God will have mercy upon Prophet Key. And we thank God for the Supreme Court to try to help it to what?
Bishop Cotto Brown, they're speaking. Bomi County Superintendent Miata Dolly has expressed concerns for construction of a modern football stadium in the county to top development priority. According to her, residents of the county have already identified a site for the construction, noting that it's part of repeated advocacy for projects such as hotel, police station, and superintendent compound.
Right now, Bomi County people they're so enthusiastic about the football stadium. So I called the citizens of Bomi together and I told them, you want a stadium? We all have to unify ourselves, come together and build our stadium in it. 2 more weeks. So until I think you have to come back. I want to do the initial development that I wanted to do was the superintendent's compound, the police station, hotel, other different amenities that I wanted the county to undertake. But talking to the citizens, they want a football stadium because, and I can see with them because there's no recreation in this county, nowhere to go. And we also want to start bringing the county leads into Bomi County too. So we started that, and I think you can see right across from the administrative building, the park that we're trying to build. We started the park already with swimming pool and other things that we're building. Yes, for now, because we had purchased some land in Pune, we wanted to build the stadium. Even though the roads coming to Bomi is a huge challenge, but now government working on the roads coming.
Bomi County Superintendent Miata Dolly, the director of the Intersectorial Coordination at the Environmental Protection Agency, Francis Siedu, has provided objectives of the validation and overview of the Nagoya Protocol and Liberia's ABS obligations. She emphasized that the protocol is an international agreement that falls under the Convention on Biodiversity with the objectives which include the conservation of biological diversity, the sustainable use, and the fair and equitable share of benefits for Liberia's natural resources.
In terms of access to benefit sharing, the Nagoya Protocol is an international agreement under the Convention of Biological Diversity. So the convention has 3 objectives: the conservation of biological diversity, the sustainable use, and the fair and equitable sharing of benefits from our natural resources. So for this one, the Nagoya Protocol was adopted in 2010 in Nagoya, Japan, because we are asking that the 3 objectives were now achieved. So they decided to separate one from the 3 objectives to come up with the fair and equitable sharing of benefits So that's how the ABS came about. So it entered into force in 2015, and it governs access to genetic resources and benefit sharing. So the whole aspect of ABS is for the fair and equitable sharing of benefits. So why does that protocol was developed? The first one, we have increasing global use of genetic resources.
Frances Sidwe is the director of the Intersectorial Coordination at the Environmental Protection Agency. The Center for National Documents and Records Agency has officially ended its performance management system training for its staff in Monrovia. Speaking at the start of the training, the director of Human Resources, Sam Famule, said the training will witness a more robust, effective, and efficient performance management system that aligns with other government institutions.
The government wants to ensure that staff perform on the job. So on the basis of that, a lot of recruitment were done. It is the performance management or training that some staff or CSA came train and a specific day, see in the area as an institution. All the supervisors will be trained. It is a capacity building or training that they are giving. You should know what they're here for. Everybody here are giving job description. You should know what you need to do because you need to be appraised. At the end of the day, promotions, come through appraisal. If we don't appraise you, how do you get promotion? There are people that come, some don't do work, and some are very lazy, and some are very strong. So on the basis of, appraising you, appraising your work that you do, that serves as a motivating factor so that you can be promoted.
Sam Famule is the director of Human Resources at the Center for National Documents and Records Agency. The Congress Preparatory Committee of the University of Liberia's campus-based Student Unification Party has declared Audacious Moba as the newly elected chairman of the party. The announcement was made Wednesday in Monrovia following what the campus-based student movement described as its internal electoral process. In a statement issued at the release of the results, the party also named Kelvin Kofa co-chair for Party Affairs and Peter Colley as co-chair for Government Affairs.
Fangas Union Party, SUP, University of Liberia, Capitol Hill, Monrovia, Liberia. Election Commission official results, February 18, 2026. In strict adherence to the revised student handbook and following a rigorous vetting process as well as election conducted by the Congress Preparatory Committee, CPC, in coordination with our esteemed veteran community, the Election Commission hereby declare the transition of power. These results represent the democratic way of the Vanguard Innovation Party. The following stalwarts have been mandated to steer the affairs of the party and preside over the Technical Central Committee and Politburo. Cadre Odysseus Moba, Chairman. Cadre Avi M. Kova, Co-Chairman for Party Affairs. Cadre Peter Colley, Co-Chairman for Governmental Affairs. Cadre Dave Howard, Secretary General. Cadre Polignan Emmanuel, Assistant Secretary General. Cadre Stephen Solomani Brown, Financial Secretary General. Cadre Benu M. Q. Kamara, Treasurer. Cadre Thomas Kilfellow Ali, Standard Bearer. These are the names on the Politburo Senior Committee.
Away from home, Gabon's media regulator has announced the suspension of its social media platforms until further notice, saying online content has fueled conflict and deepened divisions in the country. In a televised statement on Tuesday evening, the High Authority for Communication cited the spread of false information, cyberbullying, and the unauthorized disclosure of personal data as reasons for the decision. And at least 37 minors have died in a suspected carbon monoxide leak at a lead in zinc mine in central Nigeria's Plateau State, witnesses have told the BBC. The tragedy is believed to have happened just before sunrise at a site outside the town of Was run by mining company Solid Unity Nigeria Ltd. Toxic gas is believed to have built up underground in poorly ventilated tunnels causing the workers to collapse just before the end of the night shift. Well, on that note, that's how we come to the near end of this edition of King's Newsroom. But before we leave, a quick reminder of stories we followed in the headlines. A Solomon Liberia management orders heavy shooting at company camp in Yekepa to disperse protesting workers, leaving several protesters severely wounded. Former President George Weah extends warm wishes to Liberian Muslims at the beginning of holy month of Ramadan, urging fasting Muslims to pray for peace, unity, and coexistence. You also heard in the news Liberia National Police names Sam Collins as new spokesperson of police as Cecilia Clark resigned from the police. Clark accuses leadership of Liberia National Police of persistent workplace discrimination. Away from home, at least 37 miners have died in a suspected carbon monoxide leak at a lead and zinc mine in central Nigeria's Plateau State, witnesses have told the BBC. Gabon's media regulator has announced the suspension of social media platforms until further notice, saying online content has fueled conflicts and deepened divisions in the country. Many thanks to our reporters, correspondents, and all those who helped in making this edition of King's Newsroom a success. Newton Tokwa brought you the news bulletin. Sam Andrews sat at control and handled the technical aspect of this edition. On behalf of the team, I'm Shema Dale. I present it. Thanks for listening and watching.